special day work, and premium pay for holiday work. So there are now 4. Overtime pay, number 5. Night shift differential, number 6. Service charges. There is an amendment. So it is now number 7. Then service incentive leave, number 8. Maternity leave, number 9. There's an amendment. 105 days na ang maternity leave. Paternity leave, number 10. Parental leave for solo parents, number 11. Leave for violence against women and children, number 12. Special leave for women undergoing ovarectomy, mastectomy, or hysterectomy under the Magna Carta for women, number 13. The 13th month pay, number 14. Separation pay, there are 2 kinds. Separation pay under Article 298 for retrenchment, redundancy, labor saving device, and closure. That is Article 298, formerly Article 283. And also separation pay under Article 297 if reinstatement is no longer feasible, like in the case that I mentioned about Lufthansa, because of strained relationship or because the employee has reached retirement age. So there is a separation pay in lieu of reinstatement. So those are 16 benefits already. Number 17 benefits, we will review retirement pay. And we have a very good decision by the Supreme Court in Bank, in the case of Philippine Veterans Bank versus Laya. And it is decided by the Supreme Court, 15 justices, with only 1 dissenting opinion. And you have to look at the dissenting opinion because the only one who dissented is Justice Marvick Leonen, the chairman for the bar examinations. Then 18, employees' compensation benefits for disability, disease, and death. Then PhilHealth, buhay pa ba ang PhilHealth? Nasa number 19. Number 20, ang SSS. So those are the things that we are going to discuss tonight. I'm very happy that looking at the screen, we are now 41. No? 41 minus me, that is 40. And minus Attorney Wagas, that is 39. So we have a good number tonight.
Yes, Attorney.
So again, I reiterate that if you want free video, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. We will start with benefit number 1. It is provided under Article 94 of the Labor Code. And if you have a copy of my bar reviewer, it is found on page 461 of my bar reviewer, the ultimate compendium for bar review. And you will see immediately that there is an exception. The exception, of course, government employees are not entitled to holiday pay. They are not entitled to holiday pay and other benefits under the Book 3, first chapter and first title on hours of work. No? Retail and service establishment. So if you answer in the bar, do not stop there. Do not say retail and service establishment. You have to add that they are employing they are employing less than 10 workers, because if they are service establishment or retail, but they are employing 10 or more, then they are no longer exempted. So being a retail does not exempt you. It is because of the number of employees that is less than 10. Then the kasabbahay, they are not entitled to holiday pay. Managerial employees as defined here, officers and members of the managerial staff, and field personnel. Now, you have to be very careful about field personnel because this does not refer to workers in the farm or in the rice field. These are workers whose time cannot be monitored because they are traveling, they are moving around, and the office cannot be sure as to whether they are doing work or they are sleeping under the mango tree. So they are not entitled to many of the benefits or all the benefits that we will discuss tonight, including holiday pay and overtime pay. So using the minimum wage for Cebu, for Cebu, 404. I do not want to go into a computation. You just understand the principle. Where the holiday falls on a scheduled rest day, the work performed will entail an additional 30%. So if your holiday falls on your rest day, you will have, and you are made to work, the percentage is 260% because the basic is 200 and then plus the 30% that is twice done because it is double. 30 plus 30 is 60, so it is 260%. So if it falls on a Sunday, when a regular holiday falls on a Sunday, the following Monday shall not be a holiday unless there is a proclamation. So hindi automatic yung pag ang holiday tumama sa Sunday, ang Monday ang maging holiday. Hindi yan. Kailangan yan ng presidential proclamation. And these are the holidays. Now, if you want to memorize the holiday, I have made a mnemonic device. Ito, tingnan nyo yung mnemonic device ha. Ang mnemonic device ko ay nalibre semeg. Nalibre semeg. Ano yan? N is New Year. Then A, Araw ng Kagitingan. L, Labor Day. I, Independence Day. B, Bonifacio Day. R, Rizal Day. E, Idel Peter. C, Christmas Day. M, Monday, Thursday. E, Idel Adha. And G, Good Friday. So, if you read that, that is Nalibre Semeg. Nalibre Semeg. Makakatulong nyo yan kasi pagka merong examiner, can you give the 12 legal holidays and the 4 special days? The 4 special days, kasama na ngayon ang Immaculate Conception that has been covered by special law. There is a law that declares December 8 as a special day. It's not a regular holiday but a special day. Like the Ninoy Aquino Day, the All Saints Day, and the last day of the year, December 31, November 1, August 21, and December 8. They are special days. They are not regular holidays. So, in addition to this, in Muslim areas, because of Presidential Decree 1083, the Code of Muslim Personal Laws of the Philippines as amended. There are now additional 4 Muslim holidays. The Muslim New Year, which is called the Amun Jadid. This is movable depending upon the movement of the month, of the moon. Ang mga Muslim kasi, ang tinitingnan nila moon. Ang mga Christian, ang tinitingnan natin sun. Solar tayo, sila lunar. Kaya yung simbolo ng mga Muslim is a half moon. Diba? So ang kanilang New Year is Amun Jadid. Now, ang tanong dito, if you are a Christian and you are working in Marawi City, which is a most Islamic city, are you entitled to Amun Jadid? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. So yung 12 legal holidays mo, kung nagtatrabaho ka sa mga area na identified as Muslim, like Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur, Basilan, Maguindanao, North Cotabato, Sultan Kudarat, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, Zamboanga del Norte, del Sur, Zamboanga, Sibugay, the cities of Cotabato, Iligan, Marawi, Pagadian, and Zamboanga. Whether you are a Muslim or a Christian, if you work in these areas, you are entitled to the additional holidays. And these include the Maulid o Nabi, which is the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, and Laylatul Israwaj's Miraj, which is the nocturnal journey of the ascension of Prophet Muhammad. And these are determined by the movement of the moon. No? So the rules in holiday pay, all covered employees are entitled to holiday pay. All of you, whether you are daily paid or monthly paid, it doesn't matter. You have to be given salary or wage for that day. Now, for the monthly paid, hindi na sila bibigyan kasi natatanggap na nila yung for the whole month. Pero yung mga daily paid workers who are subject to no work, no pay, they will be paid even if they do not work on the 12 holidays that we have enumerated. Do not be confused, no? Walang trabaho, 100%. Pag nagtrabaho, 200%. Because ang unang 100% is holiday pay. Ang pangalawang 100% is holiday premium pay. Iba yung holiday pay kasi hindi yan pinagtrabahoan. Ang holiday premium pay ay premium dahil nagtrabaho ka on a holiday. So there are now two 100%. No? So if the day immediately preceding the holiday is a non-working day in the establishment, the employee shall not be deemed to be on leave of absence on that day, in which case shall be entitled to holiday if she work on the day immediately preceding. So immediately, kung halimbawa, Biyernes Santo, dalawa yung nagsunod-sunod, Huwebes Santo, Biyernes Santo, kailangan trabaho ka sa Wednesday para ma-entitled ka sa dalawang holiday na yan, na ma-entitled ka kung daily paid worker ka. Pag daily paid worker ka, be sure that you work on a Wednesday so that you will be entitled to the two holidays, Good Friday and Monday, Thursday, where there are two successive regular holidays. Yan. So kailangan na nagtrabaho siya sa Wednesday. Kung merong shutdown or cessation of operation because of COVID or because of this clean up, disinfection, or repair of machineries at hindi nakapagtrabaho ang mga tao, it's not their fault. So you should not take it against them. He will still be entitled to the legal holiday pay. So the question now that will be asked is, are piece rate workers entitled to holiday pay? Well, the Labor Code implementing rules answers yes. the covered employee is paid on a piece rate basis, his holiday pay shall not be less than the average daily earnings for the last 7 actual work days. So yung mga piece rate, binabayaran yan based on output. So i-average yung kinita nila for the last 7 days, yun ang bayad sa kanila sa holiday. So yung mga seasonal workers, kung off-season sila during the holiday, they will not be entitled to the holiday pay. Kasi kung tumama yung working season nila like milling season, planting season, harvesting season in the sugarcane industry, during the season, there is a holiday, entitled sila. Pero pagka off-season at may holiday, hindi sila entitled. Workers who do not have regular working days, like stevedores. Ang mga stevedores kasi depende yan kung may barko o walang barko. So kung tumama yung pagdating ng barko sa holiday, entitled sila doon. No? Depende yan sa araw ng kanilang pagtrabaho. So tapos na tayo sa benefit number 1. Dito tayo sa premium pay for work on holiday. Premium pay for work on holiday is 100% plus 100%. A premium pay for work on a special day is 130% because the 30% will be added to the 100%. When you work on a special day, namely the araw ng Ninoy Aquino, August 21, itong All Saints Day, November 1, last day of the year, December 31, or December 8, Immaculate Conception, these are special day. So the first 8 hours of work, the rate per hour is no longer 100%, but 130%. The hourly rate will now increase. So also with your rest day, because every worker is entitled to a rest day every week. And if the employer requires you to work on your scheduled rest day, then you are entitled to a premium of 30% to be added to the 100%. So these are still the same exemption, no? These 3 holidays now, Ninoy Aquino, All Saints Day, and last day of the year, i-add na natin yung December 8 so that 4 na yung special day, no? Okay. 260. So the next benefit now is overtime pay. Overtime pay is if there's a work beyond 8 hours, the overtime pay will apply. So if you work only for 4 hours during your rest day, that is not considered overtime. Only 4 hours. Already for 8 hours to be entitled to overtime. And in the computation of the overtime pay, the cost of living allowance shall not be included. Not included. No, only the basic. No. Generally, the premium pay for work performed on a rest day, special day, or regular holidays is included as part of the rate for computation of overtime. So kung mag-compute ka ng overtime during holiday, 200% na kaagad ang base. 200% na. In other words, yung pinatong sa first 8 hours, nakalagay na doon bago mo patungan ng rate for overtime na 25%. So bago mo i-multiply ng 25%, kung pinatrabaho ka on your rest day, kailangan na yung daily rate mo, dagdagan mo muna ng 30% because it is your rest day. So 130% multiplied by 25% for any work beyond 8 hours. Diba? Kailangan na maintindihin natin yun. Madali lang na maintindihin yan eh. Night shift differential. So ang gabi sa Pilipinas, dalawang klase. Pagka criminal law at civil law, 6 o'clock, gabi na. Pero pag labor law, 10 o'clock up to 6 o'clock the following day. And this is a special arrangement to avoid giving more pay for teachers at night for night class, because if we require additional pay for teachers at night, the tuition fee for students who are working and are studying at night would be increased. To protect the working students, the hour of night differential will start at 10 o'clock when there is no more class. That is the philosophy behind shortening the night from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock the following day. Those are the hours that will be added 10%. 10% only for night differential. So, kailangan ilagay mo muna yung basic pay. Kung rest day mo, 130%, doon mo ngayon ibe-base yung 10% sa 130%. So, kung ang daily rate mo 1,000, magiging 1,300 na. Divide by 8 hours. Ang hourly rate mo, i-multiply mo ng 10% para sa night differential. Of course, under a collective bargaining agreement and a special individual agreements, the rate of 10% can be increased. There is nothing that can prevent the parties from raising this. To my mind, my personal opinion, 10% is a very low percentage for people to be entitled at night, because night is very hazardous to one's health and also taxing to the health of people. Now, in the call centers, people who are working at night, they are exposed to more hazards of robbery, to hold up, and other exigencies of working at night. So there must be a higher rate for night differential, not just 10%. So this is an example of computation. So your basic hourly rate times 10, no? So kung ordinary day, tingnan mo, ordinary day, rest day, special day, iba na yung starting point mo kaagad. Pag double holiday, 300. A double holiday that falls on your rest day and you are made to work, yung first 8 hours pa lang, 390% na. Tumama pa sa gabi, multiplyan mo pa ng 10% yan for every hour. Merong patong, ilang beses na pinatungan yan. So double holiday on a rest day for night shift differential, kita mo yan, 4.29 or 429%. Service charges. Now, you should be aware, ladies and gentlemen, that the law has been amended just last year. And this is Republic Act 11360, 2019, amended. And it says that the entire service charge, no longer 85% or 15% to management, is no longer acceptable. The entire amount, whatever is the amount of the service charge, all of them will go to the employees. And managerial employees are not allowed to share. This is only for rank and file employees. Now, the question is, are supervisory entitled? You can use the statutory construction. You know, when the labor code was promulgated in 1974, there were only two kinds of employees, the managerial employees and the rank and file, because the supervisors were embedded and considered part of managerial from 1974 up to 1989. In 1989, a graduate of UB, Senator Boy Herrera, amended the labor code by passing Republic Act 6715, and in so doing, the supervisor is now classified separately, while managerial employees are not entitled to overtime pay, and they are not entitled to the right to self-organization. The supervisors are entitled to the right to self-organization. And so if you are going to apply the statutory construction, what the law does not exclude, it includes. In other words, ang ini-exclude lang, if you read Article 82, are managerial employees. The supervisory employees are not excluded. Therefore, I submit that they are entitled. They are entitled to service charges. They are also entitled to holiday pay and premium for special holiday, super the benefits that we have discussed, even overtime pay. If only the managerial employees are excluded, then the supervisory employees are no longer excluded. And if they are not excluded under Article 82, then they are entitled to the benefits under the many articles under Title 1, Chapter 1 of Book 3 of the Labor Code of the Philippines, including holiday pay, rest day pay, rest day premium pay, holiday premium pay, and special day premium pay, overtime pay, and holiday pay. So it's very important. And if there is a dispute between management or among the employees, this dispute should be brought to not to the NLRC, but to the regional office of DOLE, which has jurisdiction over the workplace. If it's in Cebu, then in Region 7. Now, managerial employees are defined here the same manner it is defined in Article 82. But there is another definition of managerial employee in Book 5, which is in Article 219, Paragraph M of the Labor Code. Those classification in Book 5 is for the purpose of excluding them from the right to self-organization. The classification in Book 3 is to exclude them from the right to overtime pay, holiday pay, and holiday premium pay, as we have discussed. No? And they are separate, different kinds of animal. So the next is service incentive leave. Dahil wala namang vacation leave at sick leave sa labor code. But service incentive leave, ang ginawa pang 5 days lang, na mahirap i-divide kung there are 12 months, 5 days yan, dapat man lang naging 6 days yan. But it is 5 days. That's why in the decision of the Supreme Court, in the case of Capital Wireless versus Confessor, sinabi ng Supreme Court na ang kahulugan ng 1/2 month for every year of service for purposes of computing the retirement pay is not only 15 days. You have to add the 5 days service incentive leave. 15 plus 5 is 20. Then you add 1/12 of the 13th month pay. That is equivalent to 2.5 days. So for every month, 2.5 days plus the 20 days is 22.5 days. It's only in the Philippines, in the whole world, that the meaning of 1/2 month is 22.5 days. And that is defined by the Supreme Court itself, no less than the Supreme Court. In the case of Capital Wireless versus Secretary Nieves Confessor. Remember that, ha? And also the same, you can create a mnemonic device for all those who are excluded from these rights, no? And included here are those already enjoying vacation leave with pay. Kung may mga company na nagbibigay ng sick leave at vacation leave, that is already considered compliance. Lalo na more than 5 days pa binibigay, no? The service incentive leave may be availed of by the employee, or it can be commuted into cash at the end of the year. So the choice belongs to the employee. It does not belong to the employer. Hindi pwedeng sabihin ng employer, oy, Procopio, huwag mong gamitin yung leave mo kasi sayang yan. Tipirin mo yan hanggang mag-retire ka. Mataas na ang value ng iyong magandang advice yan, but it is not mandatory to the employee. The employee has the choice. Sabihin, ma'am, kailangan kong cash, in-cash ko ito at the end of the year. Or that should be given due course. It cannot be refused. Pag sinabi naman ng employee, I don't want to use my service incentive leave. I want to go on leave without pay because I want to save that for my retirement. By the time that I retire, my basic rate shall have been increased already. So the value of that will be much higher. And because I am a person who looks forward on a long-term basis, I would rather save that. That is the decision that belongs to the employee, not to the employer. Now, what happens if you are dismissed or you retire or you resign somewhere in the middle of the year or before the end of the year? There is a computation of the 5 days. There is a formula to compute, no? The formula to be computed to arrive at the proper proportionate 13th month pay, no? So if you have already earned last year 5 days, now in the month of February for next year, you resign, that 2-month period will earn 0.833. Hindi pa nabuo ang isang araw. Idagdag mo yun sa 5 araw na na-earn mo at tinago mo, tinipid mo. entitled ka ng 5.8 equivalent to your basic rate. What is your basic rate? Daily rate, multiply mo ng 5.833. Yun ang makukuha mo. But don't worry because I think there is no examiner who will make you compute. Walang examiner na magpapakompute. Noon lang kumuha ako ng bar, pinakompute kami sa taxation. Taxation, pinakompute kami. Situation A versus situation B, situation C. Tapos tatanungin ka, what would you advise your client? Which situation will he choose where he can avoid taxation? Tax avoidance. Paano makatipid sa taxation? A, B, C. So you have to compute. Hindi ako nag-compute. Ang sabi ko doon sa answer ko, with all due respect to the honorable examiner, this examinee is applying to become a lawyer. And if this situation comes before me, I would refer the matter to the accounting department for proper computation. But the principles and legal provisions involved are the following. So I put the legal provisions, but I did not compute. No, I did not attempt to compute. Kaya tayo naging abogado dahil mahina tayo sa math. Kaya karamihan sa kumukuha ng bar na maganda talagang kita ay yung mga CPA lawyer. Mga CPA lawyer, mataas ang chance na not just to pass the bar, but to top the bar. Pagka titingnan mo yung bar top notchers, yung nakaraan, CPA yun. CPA lawyers. Kasi ang mga CPA, meron na yan, bihasa na yan sa commercial law, sa taxation, sa obligation and contract, private corporation code. So, ang laki ng advantage ng mga CPA na kukuha ng bar. Samantalang tayo, political law tayo, hindi tayo CPA. Mahirapan tayo sa commercial law, mahirapan tayo sa negotiable instrument. Nako, yun ang mga subject na ayaw ko eh. But anyway, going back to our discussion, according to the Supreme Court in the case of Mansion versus Bitara, ISIL is a right to its across to every employee. These are the requirements. He has served for at least 12 months, whether it is continuous or broken, from the time he started working, including authorized absences. So pagka you are on leave with pay or you are absent even without pay, but that is authorized, no? Then that is included in the computation of the 1-year period, and you should be given service incentive leave, no? So if we enumerate all the other leaves, no? Ang sinabi lang ng labor code, isang klaseng leave lang, service incentive leave. Pero in real practice in the corporate world, there is a vacation leave, a sick leave, emergency leave, union leave for sa collective bargaining agreement, union leave, may foreign leave. When I was executive of San Miguel Corporation, I was entitled to 1 month fully paid leave and all expenses paid, trip to US or Europe, wherever I wanted to go with my wife, all expenses paid. That is San Miguel Corporation. At that time, when you are an officer, nawala na yata ito ngayon eh. Nawala na ngayong benepisyo nung wala na si Don Andres Soriano. But during our time, lahat ng officer, basta naging officer ka, approved by the board of directors, entitled ka ng foreign leave. Pwede ka ring mag-leave for to take the bar or to take the board. Meron ding marriage leave kung magpakasal ka. sabbatical leave, kung gumawa ka ng thesis, maraming leave. But these are not provided by law. This is provided by company policy, by collective bargaining agreement, or by individual agreement, by negotiation. So we will now go to maternity leave. This is benefit number 9. Bilis tayo ha. Benefit number 9 na tayo. Almost 7 o'clock. Tamang-tama, 20 benefits. Nangalahati na tayo. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that maternity leave is an SSS benefit. So only members of SSS are entitled to maternity leave. And of course, wala namang empleyado na pwedeng patrabahoin na hindi membro ng SSS because it is a criminal offense for an employer to allow a worker to start working without an SSS coverage. So, itong mga pregnant women, whether you are married or not, as long as you are pregnant, you are entitled to this. And that this has been amended very recently. And Republic Act 11210, increasing the maternity leave to 105 days for female workers only. Male workers are not entitled to maternity leave. Kahit nag-transgender kayo, nagpapalit kayo ng instrumento, hindi kayo maging entitled ng maternity leave dahil wala kayong mattress. No? Kung wala kayong mattress, hindi kayo pwedeng manganak. No? Okay, ito yung sinasabi ko. Ang mga babae sa Pilipinas, sobrang swerte. Ang mga babae sa Middle East, walang karapatan. Kung babasahin mo ang Biblia sa multiplication of the loaves, ang binilang lang umabot ng 5,000 ay mga males lang. Hindi binibilang ang women at ang children. Kasi sa Middle East, ang mga kababaihan doon ay walang karapatan. They cannot even walk side by side with their husband. They have to walk one step behind because the women are not considered as equal to men. Dito sa Pilipinas, ang mga women ang mas advantage dito. Ang disadvantage dito, ang mga endangered species in the Philippines are the men. Tingnan nyo yan ha. Ang lahat ng leave entitlement nilagay ko dito. Ang isang babae, kahit wala siyang asawa, entitled siya ng 105 days. Pag solo parent siya, entitled siya ng 15 days. Dagdag yan. So, 120 days na. Plus 30 days without pay. That is the choice of the woman who is on maternity leave. 150 leave na. Ngayon, kung solo parents pa siya, dadagdagan pa yan ng 7 days. 157 days. Oh. Kung nabiktima siya ng violence against women, dagdagan ng 10 days. So 167 days na. Kung magpa-OB-GYN siya, mastectomy, hysterectomy, and ovarectomy, dagdagan ng 60 days, yung 167 days na leave ay 227 days na. Now, idagdag mo yung 52 Sundays, 12 holidays, at saka 4 na special days na ngayon, plus 5 service incentive leave with pay, 299. Ngayon, 300 days na leave kasi 4 days na yung special days. So sa isang taon, 300 days, 65 days na lang. 65 days or 62 days. 60 days na lang siya magtatrabaho. sa buong taon at ma-entitled pa siya ng 13 months. Sabi ko lang yun kasi baka merong gagawa ng bar question na bibigyan ng lahat ng leave ang isang babae din. Tatanungin kayo, how many leaves this woman would be entitled? And you have to look at my analysis. So this law was passed and authored by the following senators: Pangilinan, Angara, Pacquiao, Ligarda, Ontiveros, Trillanes, and Binay. Sa nakaraang kongreso ito. It was passed by Congress October 2018, forwarded to Malacanang January 21, 2019, signed into law February 20, published and took effect 15 days from publication. Speaker of the House Macapagal Arroyo, Senate President Vicente Soto, this has taken effect already, approved by the President on February 20, and it is now Republic Act 1121-0. And it starts with a declaration of policy that cites the provision of the Constitution protecting women in the Constitution, and also making reference to the international conventions, the treaties that we have signed, the multilateral agreements, because the Philippines adopts the generally accepted principles of international law as part of the law of the land. So this law, therefore, is pursuant to not just the act of Congress, but aligned with international provisions of our conventions as part of the law of the land. So here, this is now Section 3. So yung mga female na hindi nagko-cover, hindi yan entitled. Joke only. No? Kasi sinabi all covered female workers. So kung hindi ka covered, hindi ka entitled. Natural. No? 105 days. Tapos may additional 15 for solo parents. May 30 days without pay. No? Enjoyment of maternity leave cannot be deferred. Cannot be deferred, but should be availed of before or after the actual period of delivery in a continuous and uninterrupted manner. Take note ha, meron kasi mga babae sabihin, ma'am, naboboard na ako sa bahay, gusto ko nang mag-report ng trabaho kasi natanggap ko na yung buong maternity leave pay ko. Tapos pag pumasok ako, kikita pa ako. That should not be allowed because the law is very clear that it is uninterrupted. You cannot interrupt or shorten it for 105 days. At ngayon, wala na ngayong limit. Dati, limit 4 pregnancies lang. No? Ito, regardless of frequency. Regardless of frequency. Can you imagine that? Regardless of frequency. Miscarriage. Dati kasi, pag miscarriage, or pareho lang, miscarriage at saka delivery. Dati, pareho lang. Ngayon, ang miscarriage is just 60 days compared to the real delivery, which is 105 days plus 15, plus an optional 30 days without pay. This refers to government workers, no? And also employees of state colleges and universities. They are also entitled to this. Any pregnant female worker. Tingnan mo, in-underline ng no more limit to 4 deliveries. No more limit to 4 deliveries. 105 days with full pay. With full pay. Kung ang i-reimburse ng SSS ay 80% lang, yung kulang na 20% should be shouldered by management, because the employee who is delivering a baby must be given full pay for 105 days. Ngayon, ano lang ang requirement dito? Kailangan SSS member ka and you have paid at least 3 monthly contribution. 3 lang in the last 12 months prior to the at wala nang distinction ngayon kung natural or cesarean. Wala nang ngayong distinction. Meron ba namang sumagot sa bar examination na yun daw mga bata na born by cesarean section is not qualified to become President of the Philippines because they are not natural born? Makabobo naman yung tao na yun, hindi yung taga-UV. Na pag ikaw daw isinilang ka ng cesarean, hindi ka natural born. Oh. Pero dito sa batas na ito, walang distinction. Full payment shall be advanced by the employer. Hindi pwedeng sabihin ng employer, maghintay ka na lang kasi kukuha pa tayo sa SSS. No. Advance. And then they will reimburse. They will go to the SSS for reimbursement. And the SSS is mandated to pay immediately. The word is immediately. Alam mo naman ang SSS anong meaning ng immediately? Talaga bang maibibigay nila yan immediately? In the meanwhile, nabigay na sa empleyada na mga anak, hindi naghihintay sa SSS. Ina-advance ng employer yan. No? Kung ang isang employer will fail to remit to the SSS for whatever reason, nagdeduct ng SSS premium sa empleyado at ang contribution ng employer hindi na-remit. Therefore, hindi mag-qualify yung female employee for maternity benefits because of the omission of the employer. By the way, ngayon ko lang nakita, magandang gabi, Attorney Jared Gullias. I'm sorry that I just saw the message from Attorney Wagas. I have to acknowledge the presence of our corporate secretary. Nandiyan ka ba, Attorney Jared?
Yes, Attorney, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Don't let me disrupt your lesson, Attorney.
Mabuti ito, nakinig ka dito sa maternity kasi pag nag-asawa ka, I don't know if you are already married.
No, Attorney.
So alam mo na ang entitlement ng misis mo kasi nakalagay dito that the female employee can pasa, merong pasa leave. Kung merong pasa load, meron ding pasa leave. Yung 7 days, there is a provision here that 7 days can be given to your husband. And the HR manager will arrange. If, for instance, the wife is working in UV, but the husband is working in the Freeman o different employer yan. So yung HR dito sa UV, present ba siya, Attorney Wagas, yung HR natin?
Yes, attorney, si Ma'am Michelle.
Ma'am Michelle, kung halimbawa merong isang teacher datin sa UV, ang husband niya taga Freeman, tapos under this law, yung 7 days out of the 105 days, yung 7 days, pwede niyang ibigay doon sa kanyang husband. So, pwede silang magsama in the last portion of her leave. So, pag nagsama sila, pagbalik niya, buntis na naman siya. So, maroon na namang entitlement yan dahil wala nang limit na 4 deliveries ito. This law encourages people to get pregnant. So all female employees, this is the time for you to get pregnant, no? Courtesy of your husband, because the law is very liberal. At ito, huwag matakot ang mga employer because hindi naman employer ang magbabayad dito, SSS naman ito. Ang problema lang, kung 80% lang ang i-reimburse ng SSS, ang 20% should be paid by the employer because the law is very clear that the woman who is delivering a baby must be fully paid in advance. In advance pa. No? So kung gusto ninyong magpa-exempt dito, you are a distressed establishment as defined by the Department of Labor, or you are a retail company with less than 10 workers, or you are a bimbi, with DTI, whose capitalization or whose assets do not exceed 3 million pesos, you can avail of exemption, but the exemption is not automatic. You have to apply for it, no? Any female worker, ito yung sinasabi ko, any female worker entitled to maternity leave for may allocate up to 7 days of said benefits to the child's father, whether or not the same is married. Kahit siya, hindi siya asawa, siya yung author of the crime, siya ang nagpabuntis doon sa babae, bibigyan pa siya ng 7 days na leave. Now, in case na wala ng ama, this can be given to other person who are taking care of the employee, maybe a caregiver within the 4th degree of consanguinity. Whether also the current partner of the female worker, tingnan mo yan Attorney Wagas, current partner daw. So kung ang isang babae nabuntisan ng isang lalaki, pero yung lalaki na yon ay biglang nawala, parang bula, at nakahanap naman kaagad ng pangalawang bathala, ikaduhang bathala yung babae, at meron na siyang partner, yung partner niya ngayon, whether male or female, kahit tumboy yung partner niya, pwedeng ma-entitle yan ng 7 days. Kita mo yan. Ang bigat ng batas na ito, napaka mapagbigay ang batas natin. So itong maternity leave credit na 105 days may be credited as a combination of prenatal and postnatal. So even before you deliver a baby, you can already avail of the leave continuously until you deliver, and then after because 105 days is more than 3 months. 105 days is more than 3 months. So again, to emphasize, the law says that this is available to all women, married or unmarried, including those in the informal economy. Can you imagine that? Informal economy. So, yung mga nagtitinda ng balot, entitled ng maternity leave, sino magbabayad ng contribution? Pwede yan, pwede kang self-employed, magbabayad ka ng contribution, SSS member ka, wala kang asawa, wala kang employer, self-employed ka, nagbebenta ka lang ng freeman sa sidewalk, kasama yung mani at saka balot, pwede ka ma-entitled ng maternity leave kahit wala kang employer. Those who are not members shall be governed by the Universal Health Law. Maternity leave of a female worker with pending administrative case. The leave granted shall be enjoyed by a female worker in the government and in the private sector, even if he has a pending case. Can you imagine that? Pending case lang naman yan eh. Hindi pa naman siya found guilty. So, she still enjoys the presumption of innocence. And in her innocence, nabuntis siya, entitled pa rin siya. Napakabait itong batas na ito. Pati yung national athlete, na buntis ang national athlete, entitled pa rin siya. And this cannot be diminished by any provision of a collective bargaining agreement or company policy. There is no agreement, any agreement that will reduce the number of entitlement will be considered null and void, being contrary to law and public policy. And no woman should be dismissed because she was pregnant. Pregnancy is not considered an offense, even if it is a product or a result of an immoral act. Pregnancy is not a ground for termination of employment, even if it is, for instance, adulterous, because the man is married, the woman is married or unmarried, that act will not erase the entitlement to maternity leave. Employers should not discriminate against a woman. Alam nyo, may decided case ito eh. Airline, Saudi Airlines. When the flight stewardess became pregnant, they were asked to resign, to tender their resignation, and they filed a case. The Supreme Court decided in favor of the women because pregnancy is not a ground for termination. To require an employee to tender a resignation is tantamount to constructive dismissal. Therefore, the remedy is reinstatement with full back wages without loss of seniority rights. And if she was subjected to embarrassment, she suffered mental anguish, besmirched reputation, wounded feelings, serious anxiety and sleepless nights, she would be entitled to moral damages. And to serve as an example to others, to other employer, she might be given also exemplary damages, plus 6% interest pursuant to the decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Nakar versus Gallery Frames, Supreme Court in Bank. And the ponente was Justice Diosdado Peralta, now incumbent Chief Justice, who happens to be my neighbor here in BF Homes, Paranaque. I have two neighbors who are both Chief Justices, Lucas Bersamin and Diosdado Peralta. And so he was the ponente in that case of gallery frames. And not only that, there is a 10% attorney's fees. Can you imagine? Reinstatement, back wages, moral damages, exemplary damages, plus 6% interest, plus 10% attorney's fees. The law is very liberal in favor of women and in favor of workers. Whoever fails or refuses to comply with this law shall be punished by an imprisonment of not less than 6 years and 1 day, nor more than 12 years. Can you imagine, ikaw employer ka, hindi ka magbibigay ng maternity leave, mabibilanggo ka. Kung hindi maawa ang judge sa iyo, fine ka na lang 20%, to 200,000. Pwedeng both fine and imprisonment. Can you imagine, shall be punished by a fine. And hindi ito fine and imprisonment. Hindi ito and ito. So this is a very liberal to the employee but very harsh to the employer. So kayong mga taga-HR, you should be updated na talagang merong mga criminal case sa labor law. Akala nila ang labor law walang criminal case. Sir, pag hindi kami nakakomply, bayaran lang natin, tama na. Hindi. Minimum wage, hindi mo bayaran, criminal law yan. Criminal case yan, may double indemnity yan. Yun ang diniscuss natin last meeting Those who were present. Pangalawa, yung SSS premium. Hindi, you allow a worker to work without SSS coverage. Or you deduct from the worker's salary and you do not remit. Estafa yun. Because you are holding the money in trust and you have to remit it to SSS. Hindi mo ni-remit. At yan ay good faith is not a defense because it is a malum prohibitum. It's not a mala per se. It's a violation of a special law. Therefore, willful intent is not a necessary element for conviction. And good faith is not a defense. Can you imagine that? Yan ako, sinasabi ko na sa inyo lahat. So, tapos na tayo sa maternity leave. Dito naman tayo sa paternity. Tingnan mo ang mga inaapi talaga Attorney Jared dito sa Pilipinas. Pakisabi lang kay Ninong Edigol na gawan niya ng paraan ito na ma-equalize naman kasi pag lalaki, pinahirapan. Pag maternity leave, kahit wala kang asawa, kailangan bigyan ka. Pag hindi ka binigyan, criminal offense. Pero pag lalaki, kailangan married ka. At saka hindi lang married, you are cohabiting with your wife. Maraming married na not cohabiting. Tapos, limited to 4 deliveries. Itong paternity leave, limited to 4 deliveries. Samantala, ang maternity leave, walang limit. So, bakit hindi na lang magkaroon ng parity? Is this not a violation of the Equal Protection Clause? Is there a valid classification that is germane to the purpose of the law? When you limit 7 calendar days, pinamimigay lang ito ng maternity leave, pinamimigay lang ito dito, 7 calendar days pa, hindi working days So kasamang bilangin yung Sunday at saka yung rest day mo, 7 calendar days. Napakahigpit ang batas. Republic Act 8187 when it comes to the men. So dito sa bansa natin, Attorney Jared, pakisabi lang kay kay Congressman Gullas, na ang inaapi dito sa bansa natin ang mga lalaki, we are the endangered species. Samantala ang mga babae nilalagay natin sa pedestal, binigyan ng lahat ng benepisyo, lahat ng kaluwagan. Not only that, meron pa tayong ibang benepisyo no? Ito, tingnan mo. Conditions for entitlement to paternity leave. Number 1, you must be an employee at the time of the delivery of the child. You must be cohabiting with your spouse at the time she gives birth or suffers a miscarriage. You must apply within a reasonable period so that the HR can schedule the replacement. Hina lang the male employee must be applying in advance so that the HR can schedule the replacement for the male employee on leave. And there must be an actual giving of birth or miscarriage. That's why the HR people can require the submission of proof of the birth. The married male employee shall apply with his employer within a reasonable period of time from the expected date of delivery. Can you imagine that? So kailangan kwentahin mo yan. Marunong ka magkwenta. Then solo parents. Solo parents, Now, in fairness, ladies and gentlemen, even the men are entitled to these benefits because even men can also be solo parents as long as they have the custody of the child. Ang importante dito, custody of the child. How do you become a solo parent? How do you become a solo parent? No, meron akong mnemonic device. Ang mnemonic device ko is Dad is guapo. Dad is guapo. Anong meaning niyan? D is death of the spouse. Kailangan namatay yung wife mo or husband mo. Or annulment of marriage. Detention of the spouse for at least 1 year. So kung ang husband mo na bilanggo, na aresto, tapos sintensyahan ng judge ng 6 months, sabihin mo sa judge, Judge, pwede bang gawin mo ng 1 year para ma-entitled ako ng solo parent leave? So padagdagan mo pa ng penalty sa husband mo para mapakinabangan mo. Biro lang yun. Kasi ang requirement sa detention, at least 1 year. Hindi yung basta na-detain. Hindi necessary na na-convicted. Detain lang. If you are a detention prisoner, yun nga ang kaibahan ng jail sa prison . Yung mga first year law students, tinanong ko, what is the difference between a jail and a prison? Bakit ang jail ay under ng Bureau of Jail Management and Penology? Yan, under yan sa DILG. Pero pag Bureau of Prisons, under sa Department of Justice. So iba yung jail sa prison. Kasi sa prison, convicted na yan by final judgment. Prison na yan. You are in prison. But if you are jailed, you are waiting for your trial, the crime charge is non-bailable, or you cannot afford the bail, so you are in the jail. Now, whether you are in the jail or in a prison, if you are a husband and the duration is at least 1 year, your wife is entitled to become a solo parent. And being a solo parent, she has rights, incapacity. Even if the husband is around, if he is mentally or physically incapable, no? Or separation of spouse, just separation without any court declaration of nullity. Giving birth to a child as a result of rape. Unmarried parent who takes care of the baby. If A and B are boyfriend and girlfriends, they have no legal impediment to marry each other. The girl became pregnant, delivered a baby. The boy did not marry the girl. The girl takes care of the baby. She is a solo parent. Or abandoned by the spouse for at least 1 year. Or if you are the eldest in the family and your parents died and you take care of all your younger brothers, you are a solo parent. Can you imagine that? Hindi ka nga nag-asawa, naging solo parents ka kasi yung para kang si Andres Bonifacio, namatay yung parents eh. He took care of all his brothers and sisters. Entitled din ng solo parent yun. No? Ang father mo, kahit hindi namatay ang mother mo, father mo, nag-disappear lang for a prolonged period of time. Na disappearance, baka natukhang or na COVID o anong nangyari, yan ay still entitles you to be a solo parent. So if you are a solo parent, you are entitled to 7 working days. Alam nyo, ang paternity leave, take note of this gentlemen and ladies, paternity leave ay 7 calendar days. Pero ang solo parents leave is 7 working days. Iba yun 7 working days. So we will now go to Bausi. Ang solo parents, ladies and gentlemen, para ma-entitled ka ng leave, kumuha ka lang ng ID sa DSWD para ma-declare kang solo parents. Para sa Bausi, pupunta ka sa barangay captain at kung ang namugbog sa iyo ang husband mo, yung barangay captain, saan ka pupunta? Doon ka sa barangay kagawad or to the clerk of court or the prosecutor. Yun ang magbibigay sa iyo ng identification as a victim of Bausi. And violence against women, whether the violence is physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, or economic abuse. Economic abuse. Your husband abuses you economically. You can claim violence against women. So can you imagine ito if you read the law, there is no limit how many times in a year you are subjected to violence. And the law says, in addition to other leaves under existing laws or under company policies or collective bargaining agreement, the employee, female employee, only female are entitled to this, male are not entitled. Kung kayo mga husband, binugbog kayo ng mga wife nyo, magtiis kayo, wala kayong entitlement. Pero pag ang wife sinaktan ng husband, 10 days with full pay. Kalendar ito, 10 days with full pay. Because when the law says 10 days, it is calendar day. So this 10 days leave cannot be converted into cash. But this can be availed of in installment. The woman need not avail of the 10 days leave continuously. So, ngayon, if you read the law, walang nagsasabi dito na sa isang taon, isang beses ka lang saktan ng husband mo. Kung every month ka, sinaktan ka ng husband mo, every month entitled ka ng 10 days. At bakit ang employer ang magbabayad? That is the question now. If the problem is between the husband and the wife, why punish the employer? If you are an investor trying to decide whether to put your money in the Philippines or in Thailand or Malaysia, why should you put it in the Philippines? Where if your employees are female, they are entitled to so many benefits. OB-GYN 2 months. Mastectomy, ovarectomy, and hysterectomy. 2 months yun. Leave with pay. Ang magbabayad, employer. Can you imagine that? Yan. Speaking about OB-GYN, Republic Act 9710. The only requirement here, even if the employee is not regular, even if she is an agency worker, kahit janitor yan, provided by an agency, entitled yan ng OB-GYN, Magna Carta for women. Basta mag-undergo siya ng hysterectomy, ovarectomy, and mastectomy. She is entitled to 2 months with full pay based on gross compensation. Take note of that, gross compensation, 2 months. And that will be paid by the employer, not the SSS, not the PhilHealth, but the employer. 13-month pay. Ito na hinihintay ninyo. Alam nyo, I was already in the Department of Labor in 1974. I was waiting for the result of the bar exam, and I was hired by Secretary Blas Ople, the author of the Labor Code. And I was part of the committee that drafted Presidential Decree 851. Do you know that this law is only for rank and file employees? Rank and file employees lang ito. Managerial employees are not supposed to be entitled to 13th month pay. So, why are the managerial employees given 13-month pay when the law says only rank and file? Well, it might be because of mistake that has been repeated many times, and it has ripened into a company practice which cannot be withdrawn anymore unless there is, or otherwise there will be a violation of the principle of non-diminution under Article 100, Book 3 of the Labor Code. So, yung pagtanggap ng mga managerial employee ng 13-month pay is out of mistake. And that mistake has ripened into a company policy, and it can no longer be withdrawn. Pero kung isang buwan lang nagkamali ka, itong tanong sa bar exam, if you are overpaid by mistake by your employer, and upon discovery, your employer decides to take back the excess, is that a violation of the Labor Code? Is that a violation of the principle of non-diminution? The answer is no, because the rectification is immediate. It has not ripened into a benefit, and it is out of mistake. There was no intention to give it. In civil law, that is called solutio indebiti. That is an undue payment. You are not entitled to that benefit it was only by mistake that you receive it, and therefore the employer can take it back from you. It is not a violation of law to take it back. Now, I have a very interesting decision by the Supreme Court promulgated only last February 19, 2020 by the Second Division of the Supreme Court in a decision written by Justice Madam Estela Perlas Bernabe, the chairman of the last bar examination. The case is Gerardo Rojas versus Baliwag Transit. Kapangalan pa ito ng ama ni Mar Rojas, si Jerry Rojas, tumakbong Vice President. Natalo lang, no? Natalo ni Fernando Lopez. Macapagal Rojas versus Marcos Lopez. That was 1962. No? Ito, si Gerardo Rojas versus Baliwag Transit. Ang sabi ng Supreme Court, employees paid purely on commission are not entitled to 13-month pay. You have to take note of this, according to the Supreme Court. Considering that Section 3 of the Rules and Regulations implementing Presidential Decree 851 explicitly exempted from payment of 13-month pay those who are paid purely on commission, boundary, or task work basis. So kung yung mga driver ng taxi sa Cebu na tumatanggap ng bayad through the boundary system, hindi sila entitled ng 13-month pay because the law itself is very clear. Not the law, but the rules and regulations implementing the law. And that rule and regulation has the effect of a law. Under Article 5 of the Labor Code of the Philippines, this is called subordinate legislation, delegated power. The law delegated power to the executive department to implement, to pass, to formulate rules and regulations implementing labor laws. And there has never been a case filed with the Supreme Court seeking to annul that has successfully progressed. You know, yesterday in my law class in San Beda, or the other day, I discussed the exercise of police power when the Secretary of Labor was Franklin Drilon. He issued Department Order Number 1, which banned OFWs, female OFWs were banned from going to Japan as entertainers because the entertainment industry was made the front of prostitution. So Secretary Drilon issued Department Order Number 10. The Association of Recruiters in the Philippines filed a case with the Supreme Court seeking to declare as null and void that department order on the following grounds. First ground, it violates the Equal Protection Clause. Why? Why ban only the women? Why not ban the men and also yung mga bading? Bakit hindi natin binaban? Yung mga babae lang pinagbawalan pumunta sa Japan. So that was a discriminatory act. How did the Supreme Court rule? The Supreme Court upheld the validity of the order issued by Secretary Drilon as a valid exercise of the police power of the state. And there was a valid classification that is germane to the purpose of the law. The Constitution protects women, and these recruiters were sending women to Japan under the guise of being a singer when in fact they could not sing, and they were made prostitutes when they arrived in Japan. That's why Drilon stopped the sending of female entertainers to Japan. And the other ground was it was a violation of the non-impairment clause because there was already a contract signed and that order impaired the contract. Still, the Supreme Court upheld, speaking through Justice Abraham Sarmiento, that was Supreme Court in bank upheld the validity. And even the ground that it was a violation of the freedom to travel. The freedom to travel was violated. Still, the Supreme Court upheld because the police power of the state is superior to the individual freedom of the employee. If you remember the definition of social justice in Kalalang versus Williams, the state is empowered to equalize the forces in society and to enact measures that shall promote the general welfare pursuant to the time-honored principle of salus populi suprema est lex. That is, police power is being used in order to promote social justice, which is a mandate in the Constitution. And full promotion to labor is also mandated under Section 3 of Article 13 of the Constitution of 1987. Okay? So, too much about 13-month pay, we go to separation pay. And I think this will be the last item that I will discuss. It's already 7:43, but if we can finish more, it's okay. We are now in benefit number 15 and number 16. There are two kinds of separation pay. As I have said, 1/2 month for every year of service for retrenchment and closure. 1 month for every year of service for this redundancy and labor saving device. But for those in lieu of reinstatement is also when reinstatement becomes impossible because of a strained relationship or because the employee has reached the retirement age or the position has been abolished. In lieu of reinstatement, payment of 1 month separation pay is allowed. Okay? Retirement. Now, this is good. Retirement, there are two kinds. Optional retirement, if you reach the age of 60 with 5 years of service. Optional. But the Supreme Court said the option belongs to the employee, not to the employer. In the case of Philippine Veterans Bank versus Laya, a vice president of the bank, age 62, was asked by the board of directors to retire. The vice president for legal, Attorney Laya, refused to retire. He said that he wanted to stay until 65. The bank said, we are exercising our option to retire you because we have the option. The Attorney Laya filed a case. It reached the Supreme Court. Justice Lucas Bersamin, speaking for the Supreme Court in bank, decided that the action on the part of the bank was tantamount to illegal dismissal. You cannot force an employee to retire when he has not reached the age of 65. The option belongs to the employee. And therefore, the decision of the Supreme Court was to pay the salary of Attorney Laya from age 62 to 65. That is 3 years times 12 months. 3 years times 12 months is 36 months plus 3, 13-month pay, 39 months. 39 months multiplied by 250,000 pesos. 250,000 pesos salary of Attorney Laya times 39 months. That is the back wages. And on top of the back wages is the total number of years when he was illegally retired. He spent already 27 years in the bank, plus the 3 years more, 30 years. And under the bank retirement plan, 2 months for every year. So that is 60 months multiplied by 250,000. All this retirement pay plus back wages will earn an interest of 6% per annum by virtue of the decision of the Supreme Court in Nakar versus Gallery Frames, plus attorney's fees of 10%. And the attorney's fees here will not be paid to the lawyer. It will be paid to the employee. And it's up to the employee to pay to the lawyer. Okay? Oh, meron na nagsalita dyan. So, ladies and gentlemen, in fairness to you and in fairness to me, it's time for us to say goodnight. We will take care of the rest when we take up Book 4 of the Labor Code. But next Monday, I give you the exciting news that we will start with labor relations. That is the more exciting subject in labor law. When you talk of labor standards, you refer to Book 1, which is recruitment, Book 2, which is human resource development, Book 3, which we discussed tonight partly, and that is the labor standards, terms and conditions of employment, including hours of work, wages and benefits, PWD, night workers, and all the rest. That is Book 3. Book 5 is health, safety, and welfare, including occupational safety and health. That is Book 1 to 4, labor standards. But when we talk of labor relations, we talk of Book 5 and Book 6 plus Book 7. Book 5 deals with unions, how unions are organized, certification elections, representation issues, including collective bargaining, unfair labor practice, strikes, and lockouts, and also the jurisdiction of labor arbiters in LRC, and also Bureau of Labor Relations, and all the procedures for labor litigations. Book 6 is the most important because it includes the termination of employment. Only 10 articles, but very important because there has never been a bar examination from 1950. From 1950 up to today, 2020, that is 70 years. Every year, 70 bar examination. There are always questions about illegal dismissal. Even if the labor code was promulgated already in 1974, there was a law on dismissal from 1952, the Industrial Peace Act, up to 1974, repealed by the Labor Code of the Philippines. So illegal dismissal is always a question. So if you have only 10 minutes before going into the bar examination room, the only things that you have to read is book 6, composed only of 10 articles. You have to memorize the 6 causes for just cause under Article 297, formerly Article 282, and the 4 authorized causes under Article 298, formerly Article 283. So under Article 297, you have to memorize the concept of serious misconduct, insubordination, loss of trust and confidence, and fraud, gross person of the employer, analogous cases. And then you memorize also the steps to due process, the issuance of a written notice of a specific charge, opportunity to be heard, and the written notice of the decision to dismiss. Then in Article 298, you have to master the principles about retrenchment, especially under the pandemic, financial losses, closures of company, and also redundancy and labor-saving device. And as corollary to that, you have to also remember the law on mergers and consolidations as enunciated by the Supreme Court in the case of Bank of PI and the First Insular Bank and Trust Bank. The merger between the two banks, the merger between BDO and PCI Bank, the merger between Allied Bank and PNB, what happens to the employees, what happens to the union, what is the surviving company duty bound to absorb the employees of the non-surviving company. These are all answered by the Supreme Court, and we will discuss all these things. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have given you enough, and you might suffer from mental indigestion or information overload. No? So, thank you, and I hope that we see each other next meeting. Do you take picture with your loved one, Attorney Wagas? No? You take picture with your beloved loved one. I always see in the Facebook. No? Okay. So, aasahan ko yan na magkaroon tayo ng Facebook. Hopefully, ang pangalan ng Facebook natin ay Operation Bar Excellence. Huwag na natin pagitin yung pangalan ng institution kasi wala tayong authority. Baka magalit yung Board of Trustees. No? We cannot use the name of the institution without permission from the board. So we have to just use Operation Bar Excellence. No? And then i-add mo lahat yung mga member natin ng kapisanan ng mga Bisayan yan, ng mga kumbati. Pwede rin na ang pangalan mo ilagay is kumbati kasi yan ang rallying cry, no? Kumbati.
Sige, Attorney. Yes, Attorney.
Abogado talaga, taga-UB, mahilig sa kumbati. Sige lang, tikbas, bisag di makaigo, basta sige tikbas. Kumbati. Okay?
Kumbati.
So, nandiyan pa si Attorney Jared.
Pa, Attorney.
Oh, yes, Attorney.
I hope that at least ma-inspire natin ang mga, alam mo, Attorney Jared, whenever you are around, ganado lahat, pati ako, ganado ako eh. Ganado ako mag-lecture.
Tinood, Attorney.
Thank you, Attorney. I'm humbled to hear that from you.
Pagka wala si Attorney Jared, parang matamlay ang lecture ko eh. No? nandyan din si Ma'am Velasco. Ewan ko lang kung nandyan ba siya ngayon. No?
Wala siya karon, attorney, na si Ma'am Michelle.
Si Ma'am Michelle kasi HR yan. Kailangan ma-master niya yung mga benefits eh. So next meeting, exciting tayo kasi ipakita ko yung metamorphosis from person to employee to union hanggang meron yang metamorphosis eh. Papakita ko yan. So kailangan dumating kayo maaga. Ngayon, marami-rami tayo. Pero na-surprise talaga ako, Atty. Wagas. Bakit umabot tayo ng 90? There was one time, wala dito si Atty. Jared eh. Umabot kami ng 90.
Kuan to, attorney, kanang murag imo to mga estudyante ang uban, attorney?
Lahat ng mga taga-Kulon. Ni Atty. Wagas, lahat ng standby sa Kulon, pinapa-attend ng seminar. So, maraming salamat sa inyo at sana ganado kayo. Alam nyo, pag nawalan kayo ng gana, alalahanin lang ako, meron akong kanta eh. Yabag lang ako pero may kanta ako. Yung pag nawala kayo ng gana, meron akong kanta nung nagre-review ako sa bar. Nag-iisa lang ako sa tabi ng dagat kasi I could not afford to take the review class. Lahat ng review class dati sa Manila ginagawa. So, ako nag-review ako sa tabi ng dagat doon sa Dumanhog, Cebu, sa lugar ng father ko. So, pag nag-iisa na lang ako, kumakanta ako ng Buhing Pangandoy. Merong linya doon sa Buhing Pangandoy na nagsasabi ng Atty. Wagas, i-tape mo yan tong kanta ko. Sinabi doon, magpabiling mainiton king. Kasi meron, bisan og isa likway sa tanan. Magpabiling mainiton king dughan. Ang buhing pangandoy ning kalag. Pangandoy ko ngawan ay paglubad. Bisan og isa likway sa tanan. Magpabiling mainiton king dughan. Ganon ang gagawin ninyo. Kailangan na mag-init ng dugan nyo. Ayaw
Ika na mo isa likoy, attorney.
Ha?
Amen, USEC. Amen.
Luya, kinahanglan nga, basta magluya na kanimo, kantahan na mo walk with faith in your heart.
Amen.
Next meeting, kakantahan ko kayo. Kasi nakita ko sa inyo, ako lang ang ganado dito. Kami dalawa ni Atty. Wagas. Kayo ang kukuha ng tar. Pagkatapos magpaluya-luya mo. Ay magpaluya-luya. Unsaon nyo pagkumbati kung magpaluya-luya mo. Ako, 70 years old ako, pero I am full of enthusiasm, energy, and passion. Pwede pa akong lumaban. Depende sa kalaban. No? Di ba?
Salamat kayo, attorney ha.
Ninyo diya, mayang gabi diya, Atty. Jared, sulti lang sa atong mga kahitasan diya sa board nga nagpadayon gyapon tag serbisyo sa atong alma mater, ha?
Yes, attorney, will do. Thank you very much, attorney, and good night.
Okay.
Stay safe.
Regards to my ninong congressman.
Thank you, attorney. Thank you, Kayo. Thank you, Attorney Jared.
Sige, stay safe.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ma'am Michelle. Thank you, everyone. See you next Monday. Bye, Orlando. Bye, Ma'am Cora. Bye, Uncle Dan.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, attorney.
Bye, Sir Edwin.
Thank you. Bye na, Sir Edwin.
Bye. Bye, Orlando. Makita rin kasi
Thank you,
ba?
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph.
Bye, Joseph.
Nasa to picture na Edwin, Sir Edwin.
Screensaver ito, ma'am.
May buhok ko, nagkaroon talaga. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you, see you.
I'll see you. Ako nang kita na imong kuan attorney, wagas katong last na YouTube.
Thank you, ma'am,
I-comment
ha.
ako
Thank you, Doc, ha.
Oh.
Thank you, Doc.
Oo. Bye.
Amping dia, Doc. Bye, Sir Mark. Ngit-ngit like ka dia, sir. Ikaw si Munaw. Bye, everyone. Good night.